Looking for the perfect way to upgrade your workshop? Today I'll show you how to do just that with some custom tool straps. I'm Corbin, the leather specialist here at Sailrite, and we're in the process of setting up this new leather studio, and I just wanted to take you along with me as I design this space and organize all my tools in leather. And if you're like me, you have tons of hand tools lying around and you always seem to misplace them just the moment you need one. And so I wanted a way to organize my tools in a way that I knew exactly where they would be each time I needed one, and I also wanted it to look really cool. So here is my take on the tool storage straps you've probably seen before, but I decided to wet mold mine, making a custom form for each of the tools. And these custom loops will help me build the habit of putting things back in the same place each time, making sure I never misplace a tool again. Where is my scratch awl? I decided to mount my strap to the face of these shelves I build, and you can check out this video if you want to learn how to make those for yourselves. And I love the way this looks, but there were a couple hoops I had to jump through in doing it this way because I still wanted the tools to stand up perfectly straight at a 90-degree angle from the surface of the shelves. But without a wall to lean against, the unique shape of each tool would cause them to sit at all sorts of weird angles, and the perfectionist part of my brain didn't like the idea of that, so here's what I came up with. I grabbed all my tools with a tapered shape, meaning the tip of the tool is narrower than the handle, and these will work best for these types of loops because they can sit nicely in the loop. If there's something like these tools where the tip is wider than the handle, they just won't go down in the loops correctly unless you put them upside down, but I don't think you would want to put this blade side up because you could injure yourself. So yeah, all the tools with a tapered tip like this will work perfect. The amount of tools you need to store will determine how long your strap will need to be. I would at least double the length of the space you want your strap to occupy, since the loops will shorten it significantly. I cut a long strap about 1/8 of an inch wider than the face of my shelf with a strap cutter. And I'm using a 4 to 5 ounce natural veg tan for this project. This type of leather works best when you're wet molding something. Chrome tan leather will not work at all, and more highly processed veg tan leather won't work near as well. I went ahead and beveled the edges because it will be very difficult to do this once it's wet molded to the shape of the tools. I soaked the straps in warm water for a few minutes while wrapping my tools in plastic wrap to keep them dry during the forming process. I grabbed a sacrificial piece of scrap wood that I had lying around the workshop, and I marked the width of my shelf and also a center line. And I use this board for the wet molding process because it'll give the tool something to rest against, unlike the face of my shelf. I did it this way so that not only is the wet molded loop remembering the shape of the tool, but it's remembering the shape of the tool while it's parallel to the wall, or in this case, this board. So even when we transfer the strap to the shelf, the tools will stay straight. Now that the leather has soaked for a few minutes and all the air has escaped, I'll install the first screw and start molding the tools. I place the tool where I want it and then tightly pull the strap over it and form the shape. Then I'll punch a hole and install a screw and hold it in place. By doing this on the sacrificial board, if you make any mistake when placing your screw, you can reposition it to create more or less tension on the leather. I would recommend using screws similar to this with some kind of washer that will increase the size of the head of the screw. This will ensure that the leather never rips out and helps get a tighter fit around the tools. And right after I formed the loop around my creaser tool, I realized I would need that to form the leather around all the other tools, so I unwrapped it and put it back later after I was done using it. Then I just repeat that process until I run out of tools. As I'm installing these, I'm making sure to put them in an order that makes sense, because the tools will need to be returned to the same spot each time, since each loop will be custom molded, meaning that if I mix and match tools in different spots, they won't fit correctly. This has helped me stay organized because if I see an empty spot in the strap, I can quickly identify which tool is missing. Once all the tools are formed, we let it dry overnight and then trim the excess length. You can add a little bit of neat's foot oil at this point if you want to make it darker. And now that it's dried, it has retained the molded shape we created and is stiffened up. It's time to transfer the strap to whatever shelf or wall we want to install it on. Since it will keep its shape, all we have to do is unscrew it, place it in the correct position, mark where the screw hole should go, and pre-drill. Then all that's left is to reinstall the screws and secure the strap. And by the way, if you're enjoying this video so far, a thumbs up and a subscription would be greatly appreciated. It helps me know what type of projects people like, and it helps get this video in front of more leather crafters. And that's a wrap for this project. And now I'll never lose a tool again, or at least not as often. I think this is a great way to learn about wet molding and keep your workspace organized. And if you want to shop for any of these tools that I have on display, I'll have those linked in the description below. And let me know in the comments if you would prefer custom formed straps like these or just the standard one-size-fits-all loops. And if you have any other workshop organization tips, feel free to share those in the comments too. See you in the next video.